welcome to A Safe Place, Tina.
Part 2 of our last video.
How are you, Tina?
I'm good, thanks, Renee. I'm Tina. And
you look like
there's a halo around me, and I'm thinking that God is shining down on me and calling me an angel, which is why I'm now smiling. I'm one of God's children. I feel really happy. Renee was asking...
We were talking about, in the last video,
yeah,
how you were triggered and you've had a shocking week. You've had a terrible week, and we were trying to break down what it was that...
Yeah, well, I know where it's coming from, but like I said, my memory's going, so I can't remember specifics. So at this point, I am going to warn you that there may be some trigger alerts for other people here who have endured physical violence. It doesn't go too graphic, but I've also got the F word in my writing. So if you're not a fan of swearing and don't think you can cope with it, I'm just letting you know it's here, and I'm reading it as is because this is my truth. So each chapter in my book starts with, in terms of the abuse and the domestic and all that sort of stuff, it starts with an explanation of what it is, in my words, remembering this is raw, this is first draft, it's unedited, it's literally just pouring stuff on the page, and I'll read a little bit about it and then we might be able to talk about it.
Am I allowed to pause?
Sure.
You, when you're reading?
Sure. So this chat, we'll see how well that goes and whether I listen to her. That could be another story, but she's allowed to do it. I can't stop her. So this chapter is on physical abuse. Physical abuse refers to acts of physical aggression against a child by an adult. This doesn't include a smack or slap on the hand to ward off danger or correct choices. By physical abuse, I mean repeated acts of violence against a child that impacts negatively a child's psyche and sense of well-being. Physical abuse occurs when a parent or carer becomes so angry with a child's choices that they are no longer in control of their responses and they angrily lash out at the child. It can, but does not have to, result in bruising, welts, marks, burns, etc. I believe that I was physically abused throughout my childhood by both parents. I grew up in the 70s. To be honest, I think most of us were probably victims of physical abuse during this time because if we did the wrong thing, we would cop a hiding. I call it physical abuse because it was extreme. Our punishments often went well beyond a smack to correct behaviour. My parents were often exceptionally angry while smacking us. Our arm was held and their hands or a belt would land on our bottom, repeatedly, even when we screamed apologies and promises that we would never do whatever we had done again. Fuck. As I typed that, the tears pricked my eyes and my eyes started to sting. I bit my lip, warding the tears away. At almost 48, my birthday's next week, these memories still trigger the little girl. The tears fall. Incredible. I'll happily stop that right there. I'm actually not triggered by that again by reading it, and I'm actually really impressed that this is my first draft, and I'm thinking I really am a really good writer.
Yeah.
So it's good to know, actually having read it, that it's not triggered me the same way it did last week when I wrote it.
So maybe writing your story out and pouring your heart out when you're writing it the first time might be an absolute mess for you.
Yeah.
But then, you got more?
Oh, I can always read more. I've got a whole heap of words. I've got 6,000 words here. I don't need to, though.
Because ultimately, in your case, you ended up leaving home at 16,
I did, yeah. As a result of some physical violence. But I think it's important, actually, because I think also the thing that's hard, and we've touched on this before, is when you're writing your own story about trauma or sharing it, there are other people who are alive who were part of this in my life, and I have the best relationship with my mum and my dad separately because they are not together that anyone could ever dream of. I have very strong friendships with both of them and I love them both dearly, and I'm very grateful for the things that happened in my childhood because it's brought me to where I am today. And yes, I've still got trauma and stuff to work through, but that's okay. I'm all right with that. It's a process. I know I'm better for it and I'm stronger for it, and I live a charmed life as a result of it. That can be hard for people to hear, actually.
What are I'm going to ask you a hard question.
Yeah.
What's the impact of trauma for children who have suffered physical abuse?
Okay, interesting enough. So I've written this part as well, but for me, well, I can talk about it. For me, the first impact was anger. I am prone to bouts of anger that are horrible, like very violent anger that you can tell is coming from deep within the soul. It's coming from a place of real hurt. But I've worked hard as an adult to control that, not to control it, but to learn to live with more peace inside of myself through healing. And I meditate and I make choices in my life that do not cause me to get that violently angry. And I think leaving teaching was healthy for that. That's first. Second thing is, when you're physically abused and someone exercises physical power over you, you lose your sense of self-worth. And I think for me in the last week, which brings us back to what we were talking about in our second last video, is that identity. So as I've peeled away these layers and I've made changes in my life and I'm dealing with the trauma, as that's all happening, I'm having to reevaluate who I am, where I am, what my goals are and what my values are. And I think that puts us into a transition bubble that can be very scary when you're also unpacking that trauma and the impact of the trauma. Because you're right, it's the impact of the trauma is what keeps us stuck. It's not the trauma itself.
Why do you lose your identity? You said something about identity. Say it again.
Yeah.
Why do you?
Well, it's not that you lose your identity. Our identity is a fluid thing, so it's always shifting. And as we lose something or heal something or move forward in life, we're hopefully embracing our highest potential as we do that, and we're moving towards our highest self and being our best self. So at the moment, I'm in not a dark place where I'd be at home hiding, but I know that when I come out of this, and I will come out of it, I will have a fresher perspective on my life as it is now, rather than holding on to things from the past. So I believe my identity is growing. I'm becoming more of who I'm meant to be.
Was it taken away from you?
No, because we always have an identity. It's just what is the predominant thing in that identity. And so when you're a child being victimized, that's the predominant thing. When you first leave a cult, that's the predominant thing. When you peel back layers and layers of trauma and you're working through the healing process, with each layer that you peel back, you're not going to, you've got, if you heal and you will do the work, you integrate that knowledge and that understanding into who you become, which can help you make different choices. So it's more that you grow. So your identity has to shift. We're meant to be shifting. We're not meant to be who we are as a child for our whole life. It's just, I think, trauma and healing trauma, so the impact of trauma makes us confront that more consciously than most people would. Does that make sense?
It's actually really encouraging, because from an ex-Jehovah's Witness perspective, and the massive shift and change, and not just that, whoever's been, whatever trauma people have been through, it is positive, because it means you get to, there's an expression in a movie, shapeshift. Yeah. What is that movie from?
I don't know.
I think it's Harry Potter.
Is it? Oh, I don't know. Anyway. I don't think I've seen the Harry Potter movies.
But you get to change who you are, I guess, or transform and maybe improve. I
don't think it's changing who you are. I think it's growing into who you were meant to be. Who you would be if there had been no trauma. Mind you, that's not actually true, because the trauma impacts us.
That makes me sad.
Why? I think I may have said it wrong. It should be hopeful.
Because who were we supposed to be? Like, who was Tina supposed to be?
Yeah, that's why I changed that, because I think I am moving to who I was meant to be.
Who were you supposed to be if you hadn't been physically abused? What you would have flourished into?
Do you know what? I don't think I would have flourished. I'm going to be completely honest there. And that's where I corrected myself and I took it back, because I don't think what I said was quite right. I am who I am meant to be in this moment. And next week, when this has moved through me, I will be who I am meant to be in that moment. And that presence and that mindfulness of that is important. So who would I have been if I hadn't been abused? I don't know. But this is where it ties into my beliefs, which you think are a little bit crazy.
Schizo. The fairies.
No. This is about, I believe, and no, she's not. She's actually quite serious. She's just conscious all of a sudden that people might judge her for that comment. And she didn't mention the aliens, so she's moving forward. And realistically, whatever works for you and gets you through life, hey, Bindi, is important.
Yeah.
So for me, I believe that prior to my incarnations, I believe in multiple lifetimes, and prior to this incarnation, I asked for certain lessons to be taught, and people put up their hands in my little boardroom, and they said they were happy to be that role for me, which is why I'm very grateful for my mum and dad, because had they not put their hands up, I wouldn't have learned these lessons, and if I hadn't learned these lessons, then I wouldn't be able to help other people improve their life. So all of you people who have been writing negative comments under our stuff, have fun with that one.
Oh,
God is my loving spirit when I'm raw, let me tell you.
Oh, that shifted.
Yeah, because I am having fun. The devil's coming out in me. It's like, yeah.
No, but I really want to dwell.
Yeah.
I loved what you just said.
Yeah.
I really respect it, of course.
You so don't. You can't. I didn't even have to see you not holding a straight face.
No, but I really loved, and let's hold on to what you said about we didn't lose our identity. I think that's so nice. That
Yeah, we didn't.
Actually, we're morphing, we're adapting,
And you're
growing
growing
into what you said. So
I think we are our true self in every moment. And depending on what comes, that will be different aspects will be highlighted.
It's like, yeah, okay, I'm seeing that. I like that. I like that concept. It's optimistic.
Well, it's hopeful because ultimately you would hope that if we
who
have
you
to
wanna be.
enjoy, absolute, and that's it. It's becoming who you want to be. So we have choices as adults that we don't have as children because we're not cognizant of them. But as adults, we have choices about what we do and the things we put our energy into, and we have a choice about how we respond and react. And no, I do not regret my little comment earlier. I'm still feeling gleeful about that. But it is, we've got that potential to be who we want to be. We craft our own life. We all have the power to do that.
Sometimes it's a little bit messy, the process.
Yeah, well, like this, I'm flat. Like, sure, my spirit and energy is lifting a bit now, but I'll be honest, I think that's more because we're out in nature, because I've been missing nature and haven't got out enough.
You're not going to credit me at all for it?
No.
Just a little bit?
Why would I do that?
Because I'm making you laugh.
Right.
That's
Renee's making me laugh by being mean, and I think it's also important that we acknowledge that.
I've been very
She's
nice.
laughing at my beliefs. You all saw it.
Very nice.
She's being nicer than she would be if the camera wasn't on. At any rate, we're at 12.5 minutes. Safe place?
Safe place. We can
Please
discuss.
subscribe.
We can discuss anything, including accusations, which we might discuss next video. But yeah, please leave a comment, no matter what sort of comment it is. Safe place. Subscribe.
We're not gay. Just in case people are wondering. Oh, well, we'll do that next video.
No,
so switch this one off and we'll do it next.
gone.
No, it hasn't. We'll bring it up again. Let's go.
Bye-bye.
Bye.